My beautiful friends, another lovely day. Absolutely lovely. Let's talk about why this day was so lovely. You know, it's just incredible. I'm feeling all, I don't know, all kind of funny inside. Let's talk about why. So let's start off with the basics. Stocks did nothing today. All over the place, up and down. We finished at the flat line. Lots of bond buying here. Again, in my view, just to recap from earlier, it's Mannarino versus Grant with regard to calling the Federal Reserve this coming Wednesday. I say they're not going to cut rates. Jim Grant says yes. I laid out my case and I stand by that. Rates are coming down on their own. Why does the Fed need to do anything right now? I don't believe they do. They're gonna ride this at least until next month. Again, my opinion, I could be wrong. No disrespect whatsoever to Jim Grant. Jim Grant is a smart guy, and I always listen to him when I see him. So, here's the biggest story today, bar none, period, the end. I'm not making this up. If you want to just have a look behind me, I want to read this to you because it's pretty epic. From the president himself, I'm going to read this tweet to you from this morning. And if you want to see this for yourself, I'm going to place a link to this in the description of this video. President Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump. The Trump economy, I want to get this verbatim. The Trump economy is setting records. Well, let me interject here. He's absolutely right. The Empire State Manufacturing Index today made a record-breaking drop today. The lowest in over 2 years. The U.S. economy is in free fall. He knows it's in free fall, hence his repeated calls for rate cuts, quantitative easing, repatriation of cash here to the United States so these companies can buy back shares of their own stock to prop all this up, period. It's a lie, okay? So, again, the Trump economy is setting records, not good ones. And has a long way up to go. Up to where? Up his Kulu? All right. However, if anyone but me, he's talking about himself, takes over in 2020, then he goes on to say, I know the competition very well. Hold on to your hats. There will be a market crash, the likes of which has not been seen before! Exclamation point. Keep America great. I cannot argue with the man. We are going to face a moment of an epic crash in this market. It's all fake. It's all propped up, and the president himself absolutely did inherit a nightmare from the last guy who was a nightmare, and the guy before him who inflated bubbles all over the place like you cannot possibly believe. It's an environment of distortions. Market crashes, all they are, is when the market is doing its one and only job, and you know what that is, to determine fair value. Markets are not being allowed to do that. We do not have a free market. We do not have a free market economy. Everything in the United States is being subsidized. We're a socialist nation now, moving towards communism and fascism. So forget about whoever sits in the pretty White House. Doesn't matter. This is all a mega distortion, and the president himself is explaining this to you, that if he doesn't get reelected, this is we're gonna have the biggest market crash ever in history. Well, that's coming anyway. We already know that. For those of us that have just even a few functioning brain cells, maybe two, that you can rub together a little bit. But for him to come out and say this is pretty incredible in my view. It's almost like a threat in a way. You better elect me, otherwise you're gonna go broke. Everything's gonna evaporate. So what is he saying? That he's gonna sustain these distortions even more by getting negative interest rates? That's where we're going. Here in the United States, we are actually marching straight into a negative real rate environment. I mean, right now around the world, we have more negative yielding debt than in history, over $11 trillion. That's not including derivatives connected to it. See, this is what they always do. They always throw out this figure, let's say 11 trillion. Now, all of these things have derivatives connected to them, layers and layers of derivatives. What that real number is, we'll never know. It's probably in the quadrillions of truly, if you were to factor all that in. But you're not allowed to know that either. You're supposed to look at the face number. Kind of like how President Trump fist feeds you the fake U3 numbers with regard to unemployment. It's a joke. But that's the real story today. We are, according to the president, if he doesn't get elected, going to get the biggest crash in the history of the world. He is right. It's coming. Whether he gets reelected or not, I want to see this market normalize. There's no way to stop it. None, zero, period, the freaking end. And if he's trying to tell you that by lowering rates even further and maybe even going negative, by more quantitative easing, more debt, that it's going to fix the problem or we're going to grow out of it, the president is really smoking some hard stuff. I know he doesn't drink, from what I understand, but I don't know. Maybe he's lighting up some, like, I don't know, something as big as a submarine and sucking on it morning, noon, and night. That's what it seems like to me, because we can't grow out of it. There is no way. I don't care how much stimulus he wants to throw at us. How much he wants to cut rates. How much the president wants to force the middle class to subsidize this entire stock market, because that's all we're doing. The middle class is being robbed blind, beyond blind. It's actually grand theft on an unimaginable scale. Think about it. By rates being where they are, and the president wants them lower, any individual here in the United States with an interest-earning account is being robbed because they're not being paid interest to keep up with the rate of inflation, the real rate of inflation. It's theft. And what is it doing? Opens a doorway for cash to move into the stock market. And all this is a grand setup for a crash like the president just outlined. And when the market melts down, it's going to transfer wealth from the middle class to the 1%. Him and all his friends. That's who's going to benefit from this. While the middle class is out in the street, according to the president, the biggest crash ever, in a depression state. And we're going to face a big problem with regard to resources, period, the end, because that's really what this is all about. It's not about money. It's a resource problem at its core. If we can no longer borrow from the future anymore, this comes to a stop. Credit freeze, no transactions, no food, no anything. People, pandemonium in the streets. That's what the president is warning of if he's not allowed to make these distortions even worse. So it's incredible. Candidate Trump had it right, and he called out the Fed. He called out Obama. Somehow the man has been compromised to the highest order. Either that or he's an opportunist. You know, you make your case either way. Either he saw a way to get in here by calling the stock market a big, fat, ugly bubble, which it was at that time, and it's twice as high now, and he called out the Fed. Oh, the Fed is suppressing rates to make Obama look good. But he wants to keep it going under him, and not just that, he wants rates lower. And he wants more quantitative easing. You got to be kidding. You can't make this stuff up. It's impossible. We are in Twilight Zone. Anyway, so get ready for the biggest crash ever if the president doesn't win. However, he will win unless we get a crash before the end. And I'll tell you why. Again, under no president ever in history has corporate America made more money faster than under President Donald Trump. That's the truth. The middle class has been decimated, robbed blind. But the upper echelon of society, corporate America, richer than they have ever been. And that's where the cash is going to go. Corporate America is going to back this guy. Can't lose. He can't lose, in my opinion. And if he needs to, we need to, maybe he doesn't need to yet. Again, you see the rhetoric out there. War. Well, if he has to, we will attack Iran, just like he said to watch out for in 2011. President Trump said, watch for Obama to attack Iran specifically, because it will help him get reelected. Again, he's dusting off the old playbook. There's something seriously wrong here, people. And I mean seriously wrong. Okay, if you want to see the president's lovely tweet, I am going to place a link in the description of this video. If this has been interesting, enlightening, or anything to your liking, please share this video. Get it out there, because more people need to I guess, gain one, maybe two more functioning brain cells in this environment because it's sick. Really is. See you tomorrow.